Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's live session from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. We are on chapter 7 at the moment, Knowledge of the Absolute, and we have so far covered up to verses 20. And we'll be beginning from verse 21. Mukam karoti vachalam yad kripatam vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramanand Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hariyam Tatsat Vanchakalpatarubhesha Kripasinduvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavaya. Our obeisances to the previous acharyas and to all the Vaishnavas. Verse 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhaya chitu michati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tamev viddha meham. I am in everyone's heart as the supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Verse 22. Sadaya shraddhaya yuktas sayara dhanmihate labhate cha tatah kaman yaiv vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Verse 23. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavatyalpa medhasam devan devayajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planets. Verse 24. Avyaktam vyaktima pannam manyante mam buddhaya param bhavam jananto mama vyaya manuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Verse 25. Naham prakasham sarvasya yogamaya samavritah mudhoyam nabhi janati loko mamaj mavayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Verse 26. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjun, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all the things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Verse 27. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. O sign of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Verse 28. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karman te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridvrita. Translation. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Verse 29. Jara marana mokshaya mama shritaya yatanti ye te brahma tad viduh kritsannam adhyatmam karm chakhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. And finally, verse 30, the last verse of this chapter, chapter 7. Sadhi bhutadi dhaivam mam sadhi yagyam chaye viduh prayana kale epi chamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So these final 10 verses, starting from the verse 20 which we read yesterday, they all speak about the acceptance of the Lord is the best achievement for all of us in this life. And just to accept that is not enough. We have to understand it properly, and then we have to execute the devotional service to Lord. We have to serve the Lord. And when you were to be treated by somebody for some kind of illness, you would like to have the best person treating you. Similarly, with this devotional service, just knowing and understanding God is not enough. We have to understand the nature of the Lord, His personality, and as Krishna will unfold all this by the end of this chapter, and we have to serve the Lord. By serving the Lord, all the demigods, all His servants also get served. All the Devi Devtas are actually the administrators of the Lord. So, there are people who say that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they are equal. No, they are not equal. Lord Shivji is put in the mode of ignorance because he has to do those activities for God which are in the mode of ignorance, like annihilating the creation and punishing the miscreants. Then Lord Brahma, he has to procreate. He's responsible for the creation of this universe when it starts at the beginning of each yuga. So he is responsible for. Lord is in the in mode of goodness because he is the one who is actually maintaining everybody. He is responsible for maintaining this portfolio Bhagwan has kept to himself. In verse 21, Bhagwan is telling Arjun that a person can rise through the modes, 3 modes, by worshipping Lord, by worshipping, by offering all kinds of service to the Lord, because when the roots will be nourished, the whole tree gets nourished itself. The administrators, they also get the nourishment or your seva. Bhagwan has given us all independence to enjoy, and Bhagwan gives these facilities to the demigods, but we should not get so much carried away just for these facilities that all the time we're asking the demigods for this or that boon, and just asking for favors, and just getting our material life so comfortable that there'll be no time left for devotional service. We'll be always 24/7 just living a life ignorantly by enjoying ourselves. In verse 22, Bhagwan says that when people get the faith from Krishna to worship a particular demigod, they start worshipping a particular demigod to obtain the desires. But these desires are actually being fulfilled or being sanctioned by Bhagwan only. This is what we should remember. So we must offer our devotional service to the Lord. In verse 23, Bhagwan says that the people who have got small intelligence only, who just worship the Devi Devtas and are asking for the fruits for their worship, are always limited and temporary. Their intelligence is limited and temporary, and By worshipping to the demigods, they will go to the higher planets, but by worshipping the Lord directly, one will go to the supreme abode of the Lord, and this cycle of birth and death will come to an end for that person. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Brahmans are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are the arms of the Supreme Lord, Vaishyas are his waist, and the Shudras are his legs, and they all serve the different functions. Regardless of the situations, both the demigods and the person, they are part and parcel of, they all belong to Bhagwan, and Bhagwan's knowledge is perfect. And Bhagwan's favors are also unlimited. The demigods' benedictions or the Vardans you get by worshipping them are all perishable, are all going to come to an end, because these Vardans are only for this material world only. The demigods also are very, very exalted human beings, we can say. They also come to an end. Their life cycle also comes to an end, and they start their lives again. But when you get the bliss and the benediction from Bhagwan, it never ends. It will carry you forward in your devotional life. Lord's mercy is unlimited, Lord is unlimited, and his favors are unlimited. Especially the favor on his pure devotees is completely unlimited. In verse 24, Bhagwan says that the Mayavadi conception, where they say Bhagwan is not a person, Bhagwan is only like a light. They only go up to that aspect of Lord. And they think that Bhagwan, the Brahman is in goodness, because they don't believe in God as a person. So they think light to be in mode of goodness, and the person, that the human beings to be in mode of passion, and the world to be in mode of ignorance. So Jagdish is goodness for the Mayavadis, Jiva is in passion, and Jagat is in ignorance. Mayavadis are the ones we call the Mayavadis who think Bhagwan to be impersonal, and they don't consider Bhagwan to be a person. In Bhagavatam, it is stated clearly that the supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman, from the light aspect of the God, and goes to the localized super soul, or the Paramatma inner hearts. But the ultimate world in the absolute truth is the Lord himself, the personality of Godhead. In 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 29, Bhagwan says that no one can understand Bhagwan without rendering devotional service and without developing the Krishna consciousness. Athapi te deva padam bhuja dvaya prasada leshanu grihita evahi janati tattvam Bhagwan mahimo na chanya eko api chiram vichinvan. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the supreme personality of Godhead are unable to do so. So when he's fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, which begins by chanting of the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then only that person can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In verse 25, Bhagavan says that how the knowledge of Lord is going to lead to the liberation. Yogmaya is the illusion that increases the devotion, and Mahamaya is the one which is in this world, that form of Lord's energy which actually depletes the devotion. It actually tries to take us away from the devotional service. Bhagavan says in verse 25 that I'd never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For those I am covered by my internal potency, which is Mahamaya, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and unfallible. Actually, Bhagavan, he will reciprocate according to our mentality of devotion. Our desire and attitude in our devotional service is going to decide our destination, end of the day. So, in the prayers of Kunti in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, verse 19, it is said that Lord is covered by the curtain of Yogmaya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. The Yogmaya curtain is also confirmed in Ishopanishad Mantra 15, Hiranyamayena Patrena Satyasya Pihitam Mukham Tattvam Pushan Apavrinu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, and devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore, I pray that you will maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by Yogmaya. The Brahmajyoti is the covering of the internal potency. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence that impedes me seeing your Satchid Anand Vigraha, your eternal form of bliss and knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is his transcendental form of bliss, knowledge, and is covered by the internal potency of Brahmajyoti, and the less intelligent impersonalists cannot see the Supreme on this account, because God's internal potency is covered by the light. So some people, they will just go up to the light in one life, and in the next life, perhaps with the mercy of God, they will understand God as the person. Lord Krishna is not only unborn but also avyaya, which is inexhaustible. His eternal form is bliss and knowledge, and his energies are inexhaustible. In verse 26, Bhagavan says that I know everything, what has happened in the past, and all that is happening in the present, and all that is yet to come. And Bhagavan says he knows all his living entities, but no one knows him. So none of us can claim that we know what has happened in the past, what is happening all around now, or what is yet to come. We have got no such knowledge, no such ability. Only Supreme Lord has that. And he is unborn. His transcendental body is also not perishable. He's just like the sun, and Maya is just like the cloud, which is covering it. So it's only by mercy and our endeavors this becomes clear to us that Bhagwan is a person, is not up to the light level only, the Brahmajyoti level. So if we just think of understanding up to that level, then our understanding will not be right about Lord, and then we won't be able to understand Krishna consciousness as it is. So just understanding Bhagwan is Paramatma, who is living in a localized, present in the localized form in our hearts, or as the Brahma Jyoti is not enough to understand Krishna, or to begin our service of Krishna. In verse 27, Bhagavan says to Arjun that, O Parantapa, O conqueror of enemies, O Bharat, all living entities are born into delusion. They are all Brahmit, they are all bewildered by the dualities arisen from desire and hate. So these two things are always disturbing all the human beings. They are always anxious for the fulfillment of their desire, and there's always hate and aversion in them about a person or a thing, and so that's why they are always living in dualities of honor and dishonor, misery and happiness, man and woman, good and bad, pleasure and pain, and thinking that this is my house, this is my wife, and they're just too much attached, overly attached. They don't understand that everything is temporary. Only a few decades ago they were little babies, and now they're grown up, and slowly they are going closer to their old age, and finally they will also be disappearing. Like it is like this is the law for all of us who are born into this world. So in this pleasure and pain, they're just wasting their time. So unless we understand the true nature of our soul, that soul is the one which never suffers, it's beyond suffering, it's always blissful, and what is our true nature, what is that gives us happiness, until then these people will be just going round and round in circles of this world. In verse 28, Bhagavan says that please give up the sinful activities, do the pious activities, and get above the lower modes of nature, which is the ignorance and passion, and try to go into the mode of goodness, then eventually into the pure goodness, because up to goodness is also not enough. Just giving charity and helping is not enough. You have to go into the mode of pure goodness by following the 4 regulations and do the sadhana bhakti and render the service to Bhagwan with a lot of determination. And then, as Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 2nd verse says that if one wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. One who associates with the materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamo dwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. So the biggest violation of God's law we can do, the biggest violation we all can commit is by forgetting that God's constitutional position is supreme. In verse 29, Bhagavan says that the intelligent persons are the ones who are trying for the liberation from old age and death by taking refuge in Bhagwan's devotional service. They're actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about the transcendental activities. A person performing activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called the Brahman because they're trying to go closer to the Krishna planet. They understand Bhagwan properly and they're worshipping him nicely as well. And the attributes of such a person are explained in the next chapter as well. And finally, in verse 30, Bhagwan says, those in full consciousness of me, following the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all the methods of sacrifice or yajna, can know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So these are the attributes of a pure devotee. which can come through the good association. A person can understand that due to the forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of the material nature, and he's inclined more towards enjoyment, more towards the sensual gratification. And one should understand that this life is the only opportunity to get back into Krishna consciousness and to fully utilize our present time to attain the causeless mercy of the Lord. So in the previous verses we were reading that a man in distress, inquisitive man, a man in the font of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death and disease, and the worship of Supreme Lord. But however, one who is elevated in Krishna consciousness, they don't care for such processes. They will come directly into the activities of Krishna consciousness and engage themselves as an eternal servant of the Lord. And this position is attained by hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. That determined faith is called Dhrida Vrita, or the Pakka determination, like they say, the thorough determination. And that is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So in chapter 7, the middle 6 chapters, 7 to 12, are all about Bhakti Yoga. In chapter 7, Bhagwan has given us the definition of the Bhakti Yoga, and which is the verdict of all the scriptures. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of knowledge of the Absolute. We will begin our chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, next time. Thank you for joining, and I wish you all a very happy Krishna conscious day, and please join me next time as well. And it's nice to do this journey together, to do few minutes of association of Krishna conscious Sangha, or a little time which is spent in the hearing and discussing the verses by Lord Krishna as spoken to Arjun. It is so nice to be able to do that with all of you. Thank you for joining. Let me wish you all a very happy Diwali for tomorrow, and also Damodar Leela is also going to happen tomorrow, and on Sunday it is Govardhan Puja and Gopashtami as well, when Krishna will be allowed to go. He was allowed to go and with the other cowherd boys and look after the cows. Hare Krishna, Hare Tat Sat.